Do you ever watch pro drummers and think, I'll never sound like them and I'll never be as good as them? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different things that can make your drumming sound and feel more professional right now. Mastering your dynamics is the first step to sounding more pro on the drums. Now, dynamics come in 2 different flavors: overall dynamics and internal dynamics. Overall dynamics is the volume you play the entire song or beat at, and that is relevant to the music that you're playing. Too loud and you'll overpower the song. Too quiet, well then you won't provide the energy that the song needs. You hear this all the time when a rock drummer tries to play jazz for the first time, or a jazz drummer tries out metal. So start paying attention to the overall volume of what you're playing, and make sure you find the nice balance and sit right in that sweet spot that the music needs. Now, internal dynamics, well, that's the relationship between all of the limbs of your body, and nailing that will instantly make your drumming sound so much better. It's a classic beginner mistake to absolutely smash the cymbals and then play the snare drum and bass drum just too quiet. This gives you a really bad sonic imbalance, and your groove, well, just doesn't groove. The cymbals on your kit really occupy the frequency bands of vocals, keys, guitars, horns. And if you smash the absolute living daylights out of them, well, you're just covering up everyone else's stuff. And therefore, people have to turn up, maybe the mics need to go up, and that creates a whole heap of other problems. So I'd like you to visualize the parts of your beat on a mixing desk. You've got one for your hi-hat, one for your snare drum, another for your bass drum, and finally one for your ghost notes. Now in a rock and pop beat, what you want the snare drum and bass drum to be your loudest elements, let's say at a 7. Then your hi-hat, well, that sits about a 4, just underneath them. And then your ghost notes, well, that's even lower, that's about a 2. Now that seems easy on paper, but it's a lot harder in practice. So in order to build up the control required to do this, here's an awesome exercise. So play a basic rock beat. Leave any ghost notes for now, we don't need them. Start playing and then slowly raise up the volume of the hi-hat. Take it all the way to 10 and then bring it all the way down to 1. The hard part is you can't play the limbs any louder. Repeat this for the snare and then the kick drum. If you just do that for 2 minutes a day, within a couple of weeks, you'll have built in some control of your internal dynamics and you'll be able to make changes on the fly as you're playing with your band. Getting a good sound for your drums is relatively easy these days. Most drums are really well made, and modern drum heads make tuning really, really easy. In order to sound better, you got to make sure you have a good sound to start with. So practice your tuning. Next time you change your snare head or tom head, pop them on, tune them up, and then repeat the whole process. Take them off, put them on, tune them up. Do this a few times before you even start playing. Don't worry, your drum heads will be fine. When was the last time you really paid attention to your sound? Have you ever really thought about the tones that you're getting out of your drums and whether they're right for the song? Well, pro drummers, they're doing that with every note that they play. What I see a lot of beginners and even experienced drummers do is not really think about where they're hitting their drums or their cymbals and just sort of hit them randomly wherever their sticks fall. The hi-hat is a big offender for this. Even hitting on the edge all the time, even in the lightest of ballads, or tickling the top even in the heaviest of rock songs. Same goes for the snare. Hitting your ghost notes towards the edge and moving your backbeat around all the time, well, that just adds to this inconsistent sound. What you really want to sound pro is consistency. So next time you set the kit to play, find out what sounds you can get out of your drums, and then choose something and aim for it. A great drummer is defined by the notes that they don't play, not the ones that they do. Unlike singing or playing the saxophone, drums don't really require you to breathe to play them. Although I do recommend breathing, it's kind of essential. It'd be really tempting, therefore, to fill every bar with as many notes as possible. But the real trick to sounding pro is leaving space. Space in your drumming can come in many forms. It could be a hi-hat lift, a stop in your beat, a big flam with a few kicks thrown in there and nothing else, and that's your drum solo, and then you just leave so much space and everyone loses their mind because you're an absolute boss. Like this. Thinking about space in your drumming is more of a mindset shift than it is a specific groove or fill. But here's a couple of exercises to just kind of get you started. Take a basic 2-bar groove, and then at the end of the second bar, leave a a space, a whole quarter note hi-hat lift. Then sequentially move that back through the bar. So on to beat 3, beat 2, beat 1, and then through the first bar. Think about how the different spaces made the groove feel a little bit different. Obsessed with loads of different grooves and different styles, and you'll start to understand the power of space in your beats. To start leaving space in your fills, try this. Play a 1-bar beat and then a 1-bar fill. But in the fill, you can only use your right hand. Now this means you cannot rely on your linear flamadoodles or your inverted 6-stroke roll odd grouping adiddles. You just have to play with just your right hand and you'll instantly leave so much more space. In order to be more pro, you need to practice like one. So make sure you watch this video to make your practice more efficient.